Hey budget gardeners, Vita Loca here. Join me today as I show you how to divide bee balm. So let's go. This is a very overgrown area in my backyard and I'm going to be working on it this fall. One of the first things I want to do is remove the bee balm that's here. I love bee balm. It's a perennial here where I live in New Hampshire Zone 5B. Bee balm, also known as Monarda, also has some varieties that are actually native to certain parts of the United States. It is part of the mint family, so it can be aggressive and it can spread given the right conditions. It loves wet, fertile soil, so if you give it exactly what it wants, it will spread over time. But the good news is it's very easy to dig up and divide or move around your yard. The one we're going to dig up today is a red colored one, and I can tell you the hummingbirds went crazy over my bee balm this year. I absolutely love it, and I want to move it around in different areas of my yard this fall and next spring. Just like other perennials, bee balm can get powdery mildew, especially if it's a very humid area or there's poor air circulation around the plant. But since this particular variety gets very tall, I typically like to put it towards the back of a flower bed so you don't notice the powdery mildew as bad. There are so many different colors as well as heights when it comes to bee balm. So it's definitely a plant that I think every garden deserves to have. And if you want bee balm and you don't have it, but you know someone else that does, definitely collect the seeds from it. It's very easy to grow from seed. I usually use the winter sowing method to grow a lot of my perennials from seed. But what I'll do is put a link down in the description below to some videos I've made about winter sowing as well as how to collect the seeds from bee balm. Right here are 4 different stems of bee balm plant. So we're going to go ahead and just dig up this clump. I'm going to use a large shovel to dig out this plant, and I just want to dig out about 1 to 2 inches away from the base of the plant. What I like about the root system of bee balm is it's very shallow, which makes digging very easy. And then what I'm going to do is just remove some of the soil just to make it a little bit easier for dividing this plant. Since this plant has already bloomed, now is a great time to go ahead and cut it back, plus it'll make it a lot easier for dividing and moving the plant around. And what I'll do is I won't cut it right at the base. You could. I'm just going to leave about 1 inch above soil level, just so I can remember that there is a plant here as we go into the fall season. Now is a great time to remove any weeds that are at the base of the plant. And what I want to show you is, see this plant that's right here? Notice that it has very shallow roots and it came off of another plant that's over here. So what we can do is we can basically cut right in the middle or anywhere along here, as long as this piece has some roots and this piece has some roots. I'm going to use hand pruners and I'm just going to go ahead and cut right here. So now let's look at this clump here. I'm going to remove some of the soil from the base of it, just so we can see what we're working with. And again, notice very, very shallow roots. So I'm going to go ahead and use my hand pruners to cut this into more sections. You could probably do this also with a hand shovel if you wanted to, or a large shovel. There's another division. And these two are pretty close to each other. I could try to divide it, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to leave it as is. And you'll notice right here, as well as right here, there are some new bee balm plants coming off of this one plant. I'm just going to be potting up my bee balm. However, the process I'm going to show you would still apply if you were going to put this plant directly in the ground somewhere else in your yard. So we're going to reuse some of the soil that we had on this plant. I can remove some of the roots that are not necessary. And I want to fill this pot up, not to the top, but pretty close to the top, because remember, those roots will be fairly shallow. And we can just lay our plant into the pot like that. And then we just want to make sure that we cover the remaining parts of the roots with more soil. The key is you want to make sure that your plant is able to support itself. And in case you're wondering why am I putting mine in a pot, well, I know I'm going to end up with a ton of plants. And I don't know where in my landscape I'm going to be putting these. Plus, I do have a backyard plant nursery. So if I don't need all of these plants, I can also go ahead and sell them to other people that want these plants in their landscape. It is mid-August and it is a great time to be going ahead and dividing lots of plants in your landscape. It's a wonderful way to get free plants, and also many plants benefit from being divided every 3 to 5 years when it comes to perennials, because it just makes it a healthier plant And with many plants, including bee balm, what happens is if you don't divide the plant often, it will crowd itself out. And in the center of the plant, you may notice that it's starting to die off. And instead, you have new growth on either side of where the original mother plant was. So you definitely want to be giving the plant the room that it deserves and needs, and just ensure a nice healthy plant. And it's also a great way to just shop your own yard for more plants and move them around, which who doesn't love that? Free plants. On the south side of my house, I have bee balm planted, and I put it there last year. And it put on such a great show this year. In fact, such a great show that so many people would comment on it and say how beautiful it looks. I do plan on dividing and moving that plant around in that area some more, because it really needs to be divided, number one. And number two, I had only planted it in certain sections of that garden space. I didn't plant it along the full length of it. So I definitely want to do that. And now's the time to do that, so that next year that plant will take off and it will look so beautiful. So you definitely want to keep up with moving your plants around and dividing them if you want to make that impact in your garden. I'll be sure to give these plants plenty of water for the next many days, because I want those roots to establish themselves. And in case you're wondering what will I be doing with these pots, they're going to get moved down to my backyard plant nursery. And over the winter months, I'm going to take these pots and I'm actually going to heal them into the ground, which means take the pot and submerge it or put it down beneath soil level. And I'll backfill dirt around the pots. It's almost the same as taking a plant and putting it in the ground, but they're going to be in their pots. So that next year, when I'm ready to shop my yard, or next year when I'm ready to sell plants as part of my backyard plant nursery, I'll have these plants ready to go. But again, you don't have to do this process with putting them in pots. You can absolutely dig up bee balm, divide it, but then plant it somewhere else in your landscape. I hope you learned something from this video. If you have any questions or comments, please drop them down in the comment section below. And until the next video, make it a great day with gardening.